This video was sponsored by the Magic Candle Company. You know the rules, right? You visit the link in the description down below and use offer code OFFHAND for 15% off of your entire purchase at themagiccandleccompany.com. I shouldn't have to go over this every video. At least like 1 in 3 videos I'll go over it. Use the Force, Luke! Star Wars. Everybody loves Star Wars. Even if you don't like Star Wars, there's a pretty good chance that you actually do like Star Wars. And I think public perception of this movie is something very, very interesting. How it can evolve over time. Specifically, I want to say with the prequels, okay? When I was a kid growing up, everybody hated the prequels. Nobody liked them at all. Everyone wanted to forget them, decanonize them, make them so they never actually happened, so they didn't pertain to the story of Star Wars. The prequels were cringy and bad. Everyone that was, except for me and my friends. We wanted all of the lightsabers. I got Qui-Gon Jinn's lightsaber. It was my very first toy one that I ever got in my life, and I loved it. Jar Jar Binks was loud and got my attention, but he made me laugh a couple of times, and I wanted to be just like Obi-Wan Kenobi. That man, Jesus Obi-Wan from episode 2. He was iconic. And I thought it was strange that everybody else, all the grown-ups, didn't really seem to like the prequels. I watched the originals. I thought they were great. I liked the prequels as well. Until about 10 years ago, about a decade, maybe a little bit more, things started to change. Public perception began to change, and the children, the kids who grew up with Darth Maul and Qui-Gon Jinn and Jesus Obi-Wan began to grow up, and their excitement and their love for the prequels began to show. And now we seem to be in like a full-on prequel renaissance. Ewan McGregor is back as Obi-Wan Kenobi. Hayden Christensen has finally returned. Qui-Gon's back. Darth Maul, he had his whole arc. He was killed in an animated show. It's a whole thing. It was great. And you know, sometimes it just makes me wonder, it makes me think that maybe history is a bit more cyclical than we like to think sometimes. Just food for thought, something to think about for the rest of this video, something to chew on, if you will. And now, bread that looks like Baymax. Here's a video of a piece of bread that looks like Baymax. This doesn't have anything to do with the video, I just wanted to show it to you all. Isn't he great? Star Wars Galaxy's Edge opened its gates to the public in 2019, and believe me when I say the lead up and hype, and dare I say marketing push for this land was unlike anything I had ever seen before from Disney. They were really, really excited about this new land, and when it opened, there was a bit of controversy, actually, for a little bit. You see, back in 2015 at the D23 Expo, Bob Iger made the exciting announcement that we were getting not 1, but 2 new Star Wars lands.
We're creating a jaw-dropping new world that represents our largest single-themed land expansion ever. And one more thing, we're not just building one of these, we're building 2. One, Disney's Hollywood Studios in Orlando, and the other, right here in Anaheim at Disneyland. I can't wait, cannot wait to show this to all of you. And I can't think of any way that is more fitting to celebrate the next 60 years of Disneyland and our park legacy than this.
I can think of a couple of ways. I am actually sick though. That's not a joke. At this point, we didn't even know the land was going to be called Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, where it would take place, what sort of attractions there would be. All we knew was that we were getting a land at Hollywood Studios at Disneyland. It wouldn't be until the following D23 Expo when we got a name announcement, finally announced by Bob Chapek, the former CEO of the Walt Disney Company. But a little more interestingly, he gave us some insight as to what we could expect from the land.
Now, those of you that have been lucky enough to go to Walt Disney World and see Pandora, the world of Avatar, you all know how truly spectacular that is, right?
Yeah.
And it created a whole new level of what's possible for a completely immersive environment. And our ambitious plans for these Star Wars themed lands is going to raise that bar even higher. As you know, these lands will have 2 attractions. One that puts you right in the middle of a battle between the First Order and the Resistance, including a feeling that you're actually inside a Star Destroyer. And as you can imagine from this image, the scale of this attraction is unlike anything we've ever done before. As you all know, you'll also have a chance to fly, yes, the Millennium Falcon. And you all will be in complete control of the experience. And whether you're flying the ship or shooting the blasters or preparing for hyperdrive, each guest is successful when they complete their mission, and everybody works as a team.
Okay, so a level of immersion greater than that found at Pandora in Animal Kingdom. And let me tell you, for those of you who haven't been to Pandora, it is truly amazing. From the queue experience to walking around the lands to the actual rides themselves, it feels like you did just step foot on Pandora. If only they kept the park open late enough that we could see it in the dark. That's okay though, that's fine. The animals gotta go to sleep, I get it. There really is nowhere on Earth, pun intended, quite like Pandora, the world of Avatar. Honestly, they just need to bring back the exosuit people and the drummers, and we're in business, okay? We're missing the characters, Disney. We do need some characters. Honestly, when it comes to me, the more characters, the better. I can never get enough of these little guys. They're so great. They're always wonderful. Starlog 112, day 86. Chef, no. Now, Captain of Han Solo reporting. The crew managed to retrieve the strange alien artifact from the excavation site. I was the only survivor. If there's anyone out there, anyone who can hear this, anyone receiving this transmission, please help. Computer, show me home. All this trouble for a little blue box. That's weird. Ow! Hot. Hello? Can you hear me? What? There's a little guy in there? Hello? Can I get you out? What? No, I'm calling you through this little blue box. It's amplifying the radio waves throughout all of the universes. No wonder you couldn't make Captain stupid. Oh, okay, so who am I talking to right now? Just a bunch of different yous from a bunch of different universes. Go ahead and say hi, guys. Hey, hello, hey, how's it going? Get out of the way. I'm talking. Shut up, all of you. Well, that doesn't make any sense at all. Listen, Variant, we don't have any time for this right now. Are there any candles next to you right now? Candle? Why would there be a candle? I'm on a spaceship. There's no candles on. Yeah? Yes, I knew it would work. Okay, I'm gonna ask him. Okay, shut up. What's the sect? Yeah, it says a Tiki Terrace. Smells kind of good, actually. That's because it's a Magic Candle Company candle. You got it by going to magiccandlecompany.com and using offer code OFFHAND at checkout to get 15% off of your order. I've never heard of magiccandlecompany.com, and I've definitely never heard of using offer code OFFHAND15 to get 15% off of my order. What are you playing at here, mysterious blue box? Listen, buddy, friend, I'm not trying to play at anything here. I'm trying to help you, okay? They have all your favorite scents inspired by all of your favorite theme park attractions, resorts, restaurants, and yes, even shops, okay? And they don't even just have candles. If you don't want a candle, you could get a room spray, hand sanitizer, even bath products. They have it all. And remember, use offer code OFFHAND at checkout. You get to make your home or office smell like the spookiest time of year at the most magical place on earth. Doesn't that sound appealing? Well, I guess it does sound good, and that sounds like quite the deal. Yeah, that it does. Listen, weird, offhand question. You don't happen to have a shiny, black, chipped-looking rock on your ship anywhere, do you? No black rocks, as far as I know, on this spaceship. Why? Were you looking for one? You buffoons! I thought you said you'd put it on the ship beforehand! What am I supposed to do with your ring? What are you good for? Never mind, found it. Oh. Great, awesome. Go ahead and examine that in your hands really quick. What does it look like? Yeah, just a weird-looking black rock all of a sudden. Oh, well, would you look at that? Looks like we got ourselves another one. Go check the holding cells. He's probably in there with the sweater one.
So today, I'm pleased to announce that we will be calling these lands Star Wars: Galaxy's Edge. adventure happening here, and we're looking forward to welcoming all of you in 2019. And all along we've been saying how incredible these lands will be, and this video is of course just a small flavor of what you can expect when you visit Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Now you might have seen a favorite little droid rolling around in that video, and yes, BB-8 is one of the characters you can find there.
I mean, I guess he wasn't technically lying. But the emphasis, the selling point of this land leading up to its opening was very much live your own Star Wars story. You can LARP, live action roleplay, in this land. You can become part of the Star Wars universe. You could be a bounty hunter. You could be a member of the First Order. You could be a Jedi. Whatever you wanted, you could be at Galaxy's Edge. And did it deliver? Well, that's what this video is about. And a bunch of other stuff though, so don't worry, it's a full retrospective. I was there all those years ago. May of 2019, the opening day for Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland. But was it a success? Was it everything Disney had promised? Did it deliver? No. But did that mean it was bad and a waste of time and a waste of Disney's money and investment? Also, no. Yeah, remember when they did like boarding groups to enter the land, you know, the first couple months after it opened, they'd only let people in waves? I would talk to people as I walked around the land to try to get a gauge for what they thought of this brand new attraction and the rest of the land. And results, I guess, were pretty mixed. You know, as some people would say it was dead. Some people say it needed a little bit more. Others would say that it was extremely impressive. The characters were great. The food was amazing. Everybody you asked sort of had a different opinion. And that still sort of carries through to today even a little bit. Not as much to an extent as it was when it first opened, but still, people were really, really mixed on this land. You see, I was fully leaning into the live your Star Wars story aspect, and I dressed up just like Han Solo. I wanted to be a smuggler turned Jedi, right? That's why I went to Savi's workshop. I managed to get a reservation for Savi's workshop on opening day of Galaxy's Edge. How insane is that? Not to pat myself on the back or anything, but I truly am the coolest guy who has ever lived. But when you walked around, there seemed to be a few things missing. The land wasn't as alive as people were hoping it would be, and it opened with just one attraction, Smuggler's Run. Rise of the Resistance wouldn't open for another 8 months. That's almost a full year of operation with only one attraction, and that really did kind of stink. I saw a lot of people in its opening year, its first year of operation, liken Galaxy's Edge to a very hyper-immersive themed outdoor shopping mall. Because yes, at that point in history, it was very much more so about the lightsabers and Dok-Ondars than it was about the attractions. You would go to Galaxy's Edge to wander around, go to the cantina, and then maybe ride Millennium Falcon on your way out, or on your way in before you explore the rest of the land. And that, I thought, was okay, but I could see why a lot of people disliked it. And Galaxy's Edge was just sort of like that for a while. People shuffling in and out with their boarding groups, enjoying the Millennium Falcon, drinking a blue and green milk, maybe shopping at Dok-Ondar's, trying to get that coveted black Kyber crystal. Never got one, by the way. I've bought like 3 or 4 reds. I've never gotten a black one. Someday, it'll happen. But that's essentially the consensus. That's how Galaxy's Edge was for a couple of months. It just was sort of coasting. It is after this awkward opening period that we enter what I like to call Galaxy's Edge Phase 2, when Rise of the Resistance opened, and it really made the land feel more complete in a way. Now the land had a flagship e-ticket attraction, and not just a flagship e-ticket attraction. Some people, most people would say the flagship e-ticket attraction. Rise of the Resistance is the most technologically impressive and immersive dark ride Disney has ever built. And I'll die on that hill. You know, it's not my favorite. Obviously, my favorite is the Haunted Mansion, but this uses a Haunted Mansion effect, right? The hallway, get it? But to say it's not the most advanced is, you know, lying to yourself, just saying. So while yes, now we had 2 great attractions, some good restaurants, a lot of places to shop, we were still missing that one thing that was promised to us all those years ago when the land was announced.
And as Bob just shared, this outpost is filled with characters, alien creatures and droids, some of whom we know really well and we've met before, but some we might be meeting for the very first time. But all these great Star Wars stories have a new twist. This time, you're invited to participate with them in your very own Star Wars adventure.
Participating with your favorite characters in your own Star Wars adventure wasn't really a thing, or at least it wasn't even up until very recently. You would find from time to time Chewbacca and Rey, or maybe Kylo Ren and some stormtroopers walking around, but there weren't really any aliens, not a ton of droids. you wouldn't really ever see BB-8 rolling around, or R5, you know, doing his business, a Gonk droid walking around saying its famous line, you know, Gonk. According to legend, you could find R2-D2, maybe you still can, I've never seen him. It wasn't until D23 Expo 2022 when we got what seemed at the time a pretty cool announcement, but what turned out to be the start of Phase 3 of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge.
Now, you, as part of your job, when you're standing up here on stage, you get to do all these kind of sneak peeks and things like that. I get to do it sometimes, but not like you guys. You want to do something like that today?
Well, I figure this is the perfect place to introduce people to something new, right?
Woo! So good.
Could you tell I was excited? I was really actually excited for The Mandalorian to come to Galaxy's Edge. 1, because the costume just looked so incredibly good, and 2, I was thinking, maybe this means that Disney is sort of splitting from the established timeline, the one place in time in the canon story of Star Wars that Galaxy's Edge took place in. Now, rewinding a bit, for those of you who don't know, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is a canon Star Wars event. What we do in the land and what happens with Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run and Rise of the Resistance and even Dok-Ondar's, all of that happens in the actual story of Star Wars, in between episodes 8 and 9, The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. Whereas over in Tomorrowland, or I guess Hollywood Studios, Star Tours is not canon. It doesn't really happen. Yeah, there's elements of Star Tours that are canon, but the mission that we go on specifically is not. Escaping the First Order with Finn and Poe, that happened. Piloting the Millennium Falcon for Hondo, maybe not piloting it as much as crashing it, that also happened. Which means because this takes place between 8 and 9, you can't meet people like Darth Vader. Darth Vader is dead. You can't meet people like Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker is dead. Spoiler alert, I'm sorry. And you can't meet people like the Mandalorian because the Mandalorian took place so far in the past, he's probably dead. Wait. Why is he here? If Disney is so obsessed with keeping the timeline in order and keeping Galaxy's Edge canon, why is the Mandalorian here? Why are Hera and Chopper here? Why is Ahsoka here, and why does she not look a day older than she appears in her TV show, which is only 8 years after Return of the Jedi? My friends, I think we are very quickly approaching Star Wars Galaxy's Edge Phase 3. And no, in case you were wondering, Boba Fett would not back up. He wanted to be very, very close to me, which is, I guess, an honor, actually. Disney is dropping the timeline, at least in the broad strokes. Rise of the Resistance will always be the way that it is now. I don't think they can swap out Kylo Ren for Darth Vader or Rey for Luke Skywalker. Rise of the Resistance is pretty much set in stone. But interestingly, I don't think the Millennium Falcon is. Smuggler's Run, I believe, in the coming years will receive a new mission. One that is not necessarily tied to The Last Jedi or The Rise of Skywalker. One that may take place a little earlier or a little later. Specifically, I've heard a lot of rumors regarding a Mandalorian-themed mission, which may or may not be true. But I do think we are going to get a second or maybe third mission. We're gonna get variations of this attraction. Maybe that's just the boundless optimism I have for this attraction, though. I truly am a Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run apologist, okay? I really like it, and the fact that it's kind of almost plug and play. You can update this, or I can't, you can't. Disney has the opportunity to update this as many times as they want to, with as many different missions as they want to. Holiday overlays, seasonal overlays, all of that is possible with Smuggler's Run. Who wouldn't want a Life Day mission where you go to Kashyyyk and you deliver those glowing blue balls to the Wookiees? I need some sort of Millennium Falcon change. But again, like I said, I am just hopelessly optimistic. You know me, always talking good about Disney. Also, don't expect the atmosphere or the general vibe or story of the land to change too much. It's just going to be fitting in pieces that are outside of the current set place and time into what is currently Galaxy's Edge. If that makes sense at all. So while there are very popular characters available to see in Galaxy's Edge now, maybe sometime in the future we will get Darth Vader, we will get Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Han Solo. Time will tell. But I do think they're working their way up to that. I mean, come on, they had Anakin at the recent Star Wars Throwback Night. I would do anything to meet him. Oh, and the Emperor? Come on. Oh, maybe Jar Jar Binks. Put Jar Jar Binks somewhere in that land. I think everybody would love, absolutely love to meet Jar Jar. But I gotta keep, on topic. This is not a predictions video. This is a retrospective. We're not looking toward the future so much as we are looking back at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Now, a big selling point of the land from the very beginning was being able to build your own lightsaber at Savi's workshop. And while I have done this experience twice, and I do highly recommend it if you do want a cool show that comes with a lightsaber, the quality of the lightsabers themselves leaves a lot to be desired, okay? You're better off spending the same amount of money on, say, a NeoPixel or a Saberforged lightsaber than you are on a Savi's lightsaber. It's just, they're completely different in terms of quality. Savi's being a lot worse, unfortunately. But what you do get when you go to Savi's workshop is the experience. You get essentially a mini attraction, and you get to forge your own lightsaber with people who are knowledgeable and will tell you about that lightsaber. It's really, really neat. Is it worth the $200, however many dollars it is now? They've raised it and lowered it a couple of times. I can't even keep up with the prices. Okay, $250 per lightsaber at Hollywood Studios and $220 at Disneyland. So it's been raised since I got my lightsaber. So a $220, $250, is it worth it to you? Maybe if you just want the lightsaber, go with an online vendor. They're so much better. I don't have them, but they look cool. Obviously, Disney knows they can charge more at Hollywood Studios because you have those once-in-a-lifetime visitors who will pay the $250 for a lightsaber rather than the people who go to Anaheim and they build one lightsaber and that's going to be enough. Looking right now at reservation availability for Disneyland Savi's Workshop, for 2 builders, that's 2 lightsabers, not just 2 people. You can bring in extra people for just 1 builder. For 2 builders, it's basically wide open for today. These are reservations for right now as I'm recording this. Meanwhile, we'll go over to Walt Disney World to Hollywood Studios' Savi's Workshop for today. 2 builders. We'll find, okay, so evening. Okay, so not as many spots. Obviously, they are still booked out a little bit. You could get in if you wanted to today, but it's a little bit tighter. So I wonder what their long-term plan will be for Savi's Workshop when that demand eventually dies down. Ideally, of course, they plan on bringing in new lightsaber parts to cycle in for, new lightsabers, but if the build quality doesn't increase, I don't know what you're really paying for. I don't think you're going to see that many return visitors. You have lightsaber collectors out there. I have tons of them. But when I'm looking for my next lightsaber, I'm not thinking about going back to Disneyland and going into Savi's. I'm thinking about getting a high quality build from an online vendor. I mean, come on, if anyone wants to sponsor me, I'll plug your company all day long. Meanwhile, if you want a sort of cheaper and more simpler alternative to Savi's Workshop, you can head next door to the Droid Depot, where you can build your very own miniature droid. And honestly, looking at the numbers right now, you are way better off going to Disneyland to build your droid than you are going to Hollywood Studios, because 1, there are 3 types of droids you can build at Disneyland: the R series, the C series, and the BB series. Those are R2-D2, Chopper, and BB-8 respectively. Whereas over at Disney World, you can only get the BB series and the R series. As of me recording this, you cannot make a C unit droid at Hollywood Studios. You can only make the BB unit and the R unit. And the price is $100 per droid at Disneyland and $120 per droid at Walt Disney World. So if you're trying to build a droid and you don't care which coast you're on, please, for the love of God, go to Disneyland. And I'm not just saying that because they have better mint juleps. I'm not just saying that because they have better beignets or Cafe Orleans or the better Pirates of the Caribbean or the better castle, because you can actually walk through this one without having to pay. Even though it's smaller, you don't have to pay. Or the fact that they have the scariest Ferris wheel in the entire universe, okay? Go to Disneyland to build a droid if you value your money, your wallet. That's the most important thing when you're visiting Disney. That and... What is it? Oh, magic. Now, I personally can't speak to this experience. I have never built a droid before, but I did just want to sort of cover the prices and where you are better off going to build a droid if you wanted to. They seem fun, but I don't really know what I would do with it once I got home. Like, I have a lightsaber sort of collecting dust on my shelf. Trust me, it looks cool. Sometimes I, hook it up to the blade and swing it around a little bit, but other than that, the lightsaber is a display piece, okay? The droid would be sitting in the closet doing absolutely nothing. Maybe I can make him like a sidekick or something in one of my videos. Forget I said that. Now, moving on down the list of things we need to talk about with Galaxy's Edge, one of my favorite parts of the entire land, aside from maybe Rise of the Resistance, the most well-themed and immersive environment in the land, I think, is Dok-Ondar's Den of Antiquities. I really think it's an underrated thing when Disney puts these animatronics out in an environment that is not an attraction, so you can just sort of stand there and watch it for as long as you want. For example, Sonny Eclipse playing his set over at Cosmic Rays. I love Sonny Eclipse. Mr. Potato Head, when he's working over at Pixar Pier, not at Hollywood Studios. You do have to be in line for that one, but at Pixar Pier, you can just sort of walk past him and enjoy his company, enjoy him taking off his ear, sometimes dropping it. He'll do that. Rosita over at the Tropical Hideaway, she's another wonderful example. Having these gorgeous animatronics just out there in the open for everyone to experience and look at as long as they want to is amazing, especially when it comes to Dok in his shop. He is so impressive the way he turns and presses buttons and speaks. You can see the little tendrils moving. It's so well done, and I applaud Disney for putting an animatronic in this shop. It sort of brings it to life the way that they wanted the land to be originally, just here though. And the fact that you can get what Disney calls legacy lightsabers here. These are the same sort of lower quality lightsabers you'd find at Savi's, but these are based on existing characters' lightsabers like Luke, like Ahsoka, like Darth Vader. You can get their lightsabers here. And one more thing that I do want to point out about Dok-Ondar's is the rotating selection of merchandise. I go to the Disney parks probably about 8 to 10 times a year, and almost every single time I go into Dok-Ondar's, there is new merchandise available. I got this really cool mini statue there last time. I've never seen it before, but it's like a tiny version of the statue outside the shop. I love it. It's going on my shelf right there. There it goes. Fresh merchandise really adds to the believability of this place too. You can really tell that it's more of a den of antiquities. It's not a gift shop. If you want sort of more gift shop gifts, souvenirs, you go to the bazaar. If you want more expensive, more detailed, almost like treasures, you go to Dok-Ondar's. Doks and Rise of the Resistance are the two parts of Galaxy's Edge that I truly do think stand up to that original promise Disney made us when they announced Galaxy's Edge all those years ago. That being said though, for a land with this much space, there sure are a lot of dead zones in my opinion. Like after you get past Rise of the Resistance and before you get into the bazaar, that just sort of open area, it's nice, but nobody ever goes back into that sort of alleyway that leads to those two giant doors. Why would they? It's okay to have room for people to sort of sit down and spread out, but when you have that much room dedicated to absolutely nothing that nobody ever seems to utilize, I don't know what you do back there, but it just seems like a little bit of wasted space. That and the First Order courtyard, while a little bit better than that sort of alleyway, could use something else too. The TIE Echelon docked right next to the shop is really, really cool, and trust me, you want to go at night to see this thing because it looks even better in the evening time, but I don't think I have ever seen anybody buy anything from the store next to it. I mean, I'm sure they do because the land is quote-unquote canon. You have to have the First Order merchandise in a different area than the Rebellion merchandise or the Antiquity merchandise. I'm not saying the land has to be absolutely jam-packed full of people at all times in every square inch of the land, but I am saying there's a little bit of wasted space, and that wasted space is very important, especially at a park like Disneyland where space is absolutely at a premium. Less important at Hollywood Studios, but still, you gotta use the most of your space. Put a little new food stand back there. Make some Star Wars Galaxy's Edge exclusive churros. That I would be in line for day one. I'd be rope dropping the Star Wars churro stand. What do I know though? It could be extremely popular. Yeah, I only go over there sometimes when I'm trying to get my blue milk, and you're probably wondering, you're not even talking about the food, you're not talking about the dining, the cantina. No, I'm not yet. Not yet, I will. But do you see how much I'm talking about the merchandise right now? I haven't really even covered the bazaar at all. I've been talking for almost 9 minutes just about the merchandise alone here. And by the way, thank you for sticking with me through that. But that ties into the original complaints about the land. I've been talking so much about the merchandise because that's mostly what the land is. It's an outdoor Star Wars themed shopping mall with a couple attractions. But also, is that not what the rest of the park is? Especially, say, New Orleans Square, one of my favorite lands, if not my favorite land at any of the Disney parks. Pirates of the Caribbean, one of the best Disney attractions of all time, and the Haunted Mansion, the best Disney attraction of all time, both located in that land. Two attractions present in that land, just like Galaxy's Edge. That is, of course, unless you want to count the railroad, which you can, that's fine. Okay, rides, Pirates Mansion. Restaurants, Mint Julep Bar, Cafe Orleans, Royal Street Veranda, Tiana's Palace, Blue Bayou, Club 33, 21 Royal. Shops, La Masquerade d'Orleans, Port Royal Curios and Curiosities, Marie Antoinette's Perfumery, Royal Street Suites, Pieces of 8, Crystal d'Orleans, Eudora's Chic Boutique. Can you see how there are lots of similarities between these two lands? They're both shopping malls. One of them however, is based off of the Star Wars sequels, which is a very contentious topic. One of them is based off of one of the most divisive movie trilogies of all time, and the other was handcrafted by Walt Disney and his Imagineers back in the 60s to bring the feeling of New Orleans to Anaheim. While they are comparable, they are not the same thing, I get that, but I do think it's worth mentioning the similarities between the two. If you levy these complaints toward Galaxy's Edge, you should also levy them toward other lands in the parks. I think it's only fair. I mean, come on, one of the two purposes of Main Street USA is to sell you merchandise. The other is to be a sort of soft introduction to the park. I'm just saying the obsessive merchandise pushing at Galaxy's Edge is nothing new. It's existed since the park opened in 1955. Or, 1989, you count Hollywood Studios, you're here too. You have the Muppets, that counts for something. Now, it's interesting when we talk about food, it can segue into another topic of discussion I want to talk about. So really quickly, we're gonna go over food, okay? The food in Galaxy's Edge, I think is serviceable, okay? I think the star of the show for the land is Oga's Cantina. It's extremely popular at both Disneyland and Walt Disney World, usually standing room only unless you have a bigger party of exhausted kids who don't even want to be there in the first place, just saying. But even when you're standing at the bar, it's a wonderfully immersive experience. Even all of the bar taps that they have, the beer taps, the drink taps, what are they called? They're all themed to Star Wars. The fact that this frog guy's tank liquid is connected to a hose that leads to one of the taps, I think is just absolutely brilliant, but also a little bit disgusting. You're drinking that liquid that he's sitting in, which, I mean, tastes good, I guess. Guests trying the fuzzy tauntaun for the first time, as I hear from different bartenders I've talked to over the years, requiring multiple visits to first aid a day. And of course, who could forget the ever popular DJ Rex, voiced by the late Paul Reubens, who reprises his role from the original incarnation of Star Tours at Disneyland. That's right, Star Tours was at Disneyland first. That being said, tear it out, bring back Adventure Through Inner Space. I want to see a blue Doom buggy. While you do, I guess, technically have to pay to see this animatronic to get into the bar, unless somebody's paying for you. In that case, tell them thank you. But this is another very similar example to Sunny Eclipse and Doc Ondar, as I mentioned earlier. DJ Rex is a wonderful animatronic that you can just sit and admire for as long as you want to. He's so fluid, he's so great, and he's always bobbing his head. DJ Rex he's a home run for me. I absolutely love him. And fun fact, did you know you could find DJ Rex's crashed escape pod from the Star Tours, I guess, attraction outside near the exit to Toy Story Land at Hollywood Studios, and actually in the queue for Rise of the Resistance at Disneyland. That's just a little offhand Disney trivia thrown in there just for you. You're welcome. And then just a quick walk past the Millennium Falcon is Docking Bay 7, which does feature some pretty decent food. It's all right. Not the best lunch you can get in the parks, but absolutely not the worst. It's better than chicken nuggets and hamburgers, in my opinion. They offered really cool silverware when the land first opened, and too many people were stealing it, so that's gone now, but you can buy it, I think, separately at a shop. I wouldn't know. I just collect those H2O soaps from the resort hotels. Anybody else? No? Just, okay. Sorry. I just overshared again. I will say they do need to bring back the Kadu ribs to Disneyland, though. They're only at Hollywood Studios. They're so good. Why are they not at Disneyland? The Ronto wrap and the breakfast Ronto wrap are some of the best quick service options, I would say, in either park. Can't forget Katsaka's Kettle if you want your popcorn, but I personally prefer the popcorn cart on Main Street because that way I can get my popcorn and then hop on the train, but that's not retrospective. That's just me sharing my opinions. Getting back to the actual analysis and retrospective part of this video, we're going to talk about blue and green milk. Now, you may say to yourself, well, why are blue and green milk so important to this video? They are actually. This might actually be a linchpin to this video. Blue and green milk are some of the most important aspects of comparison between Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and another theme park land that it was almost directly modeled after. Now, me personally, I am a huge fan. I'm a huge proponent of blue milk over green milk. Okay, I do actually have to pick up a blue milk every time I visit Hollywood Studios or Disneyland. It's just, I like it. I love it. It's almost like mint julep tier. Not quite, but it's near there. Everyone you ask, no matter who you ask, always has a different opinion on what it tastes like. I think blue milk sort of tastes like the trolley gummy worms in a way almost, and then the green milk is very florally, but everybody has different opinions on what it tastes like. You will not get the same answer if you ask two separate people, that is. But the reason why blue and green milk are so important to Galaxy's Edge is they were directly inspired by a land that the lead Imagineer behind Galaxy's Edge, Scott Trowbridge, was involved with before he even worked at Disney. And that land, of course, you may be catching on here, is the Wizarding World of Harry Potter over at Universal Studios. You know, I actually really appreciate the fact that they're called Universal Studios Orlando and Universal Studios Hollywood, because that way I can just say Universal Studios and it's all encompassing. But yeah, you see, Disney was on top of the world when it came to theme parks, but from like the 1950s all the way through, well, today. They still are on the top of the theme park industry. But Universal has always been number 2 when it came to these theme park destinations. Yes, Universal was high quality like Disney, but the immersiveness of the parks, the theming wasn't quite up to snuff. Now, in all fairness, I'm going to do a disclaimer here. I have never been to a Universal park in my life. I'm waiting for Epic Universe to open, and I'm gonna go and immerse myself in that culture for the very first time. It's gonna be great. I'm very, very excited. I have nothing against Universal at all, okay? That's why I'm not called Offhand Theme Parks. That's why I'm not called Offhand Universal. I'm just called Offhand Disney, because that's what I know, that's what I stick with. So please take everything I say about Universal for the rest of this video even with a little grain of salt, because I might not be trying to be negative about it, but I've never been, and I just have no frame of reference for what is normal at Universal, what is good, what is bad, what is great theming, and what is bad theming. Obviously, I have never walked the park myself. When I do, though, you will all be the first to know. It's gonna be on the channel. It'll be a video. Don't worry about that. So don't listen to me when I talk about Universal. Essentially, is what I'm saying. Just mute the volume right now. This is me speaking as an outsider, as a very, very, very casual Universal enjoyer who's never been to the parks. I think the first sort of tiptoeing into high budget, highly themed areas was Poseidon's Fury that I really wanted to experience and go on, and Universal announced that it's closing, or it's closed already, and they didn't wait for me to visit so I could go on it. Universal, what's up with that? I mean, just look at the facade for Poseidon's Fury. It's beautiful. It uses amazing special effects, and it tells a story. I'm not sure if it's good or bad. Again, haven't done it, haven't seen it. But even then, after the opening of a second park, Islands of Adventure, Disney was still absolutely wiping the floor with Universal when it came to park attendance. But then something magical happened. Get it? And Universal Studios pitched, developed, and finally opened the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. An extremely high budget, highly themed, hyper immersive Harry Potter themed land where you could visit the worlds of Harry Potter. I'm not a huge Potterhead. You could go to the Hogwarts and Hogsmeade, also Diagon Alley. Maybe not at this point, I don't know. The point here is that it was something new for Universal, something above and beyond what they normally do, and it got guests' attention. And for the very first time ever, Universal Studios attendance grew to nearly rival that of Disney. And after the extremely popular reception of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Disney decided to, maybe take some of that talent for themselves, hiring Scott Trowbridge, the man behind the land, as an Imagineer, to help build Disney's answer to the Wizarding World at their parks. Now, originally, Pandora, the world of Avatar over at Animal Kingdom, was Disney sort of dipping their toe into that hyper-immersive, sort of almost role-play sort of area that Harry Potter had established. And yeah, Pandora was amazing. Almost everybody agreed that it was amazing. If, a little small, but it really did help flesh out Animal Kingdom, added another e-ticket and a really short boat ride. I have an entire video on that. It's right there in the corner. Why is it so short? It's so incredibly short. Why isn't there any drops? Why isn't there a dip in the ride? Why isn't there a Jean Lafitte animatronic? These questions are always constantly ringing in my mind whenever I ride Navi River Journey. Where's Jean Lafitte? But Pandora was just the beginning, because Disney was rearing up to make Hollywood Studios even better. Oh, and also, yes, Disneyland too, okay? Because, Big Thunder Ranch was neat, the running of the goats. We all love the running of the goats. But Star Wars, I mean, come on, Star Wars is cool too, right? Star Wars. Okay, and I'm being a little cheeky here, but Tomorrowland at this point in time, the mid-2000s, through like the 2010s, Tomorrowland at Disneyland was essentially just a mini Star Wars land. I mean, and who can blame them? Star Wars is a very popular property, and the Tomorrowland problem being ever present at both Disneyland and Walt Disney World. If you can't root it completely in fantasy sci-fi stories like those of Jules Verne, like you would find over at Disneyland Paris's Discoveryland, why not root it in the stories of George Lucas this with Star Wars. Because they tried making Disneyland's Tomorrowland more like Paris's Discoveryland, and that was awful. They painted Space Mountain green, which also coincidentally is around the same time they rethemed the People Mover into the rocket rods. For whatever reason, I'll never pass up an opportunity to bring up the People Mover. Disney, it's never too late. And while original concepts for this Star Wars land were going to be sort of extensions to the Star Tours area at Hollywood Studios, themed to, say, Tatooine and Hoth, later Disney went back to the drawing board with Scott and decided on something more high budget, more immersive, and more, I guess, quality. And even though they were devised and opened at different times by different companies, I would say that in a weird, odd way, Galaxy's Edge and the Wizarding World of Harry Potter are kind of sister lands. There's a lot of echoes of Harry Potter over at Galaxy's Edge, and sometimes even some echoes of Galaxy's Edge over at the Wizarding World nowadays. I think it's a really interesting case of competition, but also like subconscious collaboration in a way. I don't know. The ones benefiting from all of this at the end of the day are us, the guests, okay? Because we get to go experience these lands. And okay, going back to the blue and green milk, I know it's been a while since we talked about that, but the blue and green milk was the answer to the butterbeer over at the Wizarding World. And which is better? A lot of people would say butterbeer. I've never had one. I want one, but I do like blue milk a lot. It's got that, you know, sort of chunky, chilled trolley gummy worm smoothie flavor that you can't really get anywhere else in the Disney parks, and I appreciate them for that. And in Hollywood Studios, you can actually get it mixed with vodka, so if you want to get absolutely blasted on frozen chunky trolley gummy worms, that option actually is available to you, but only in Orlando. Sorry, Anaheim friends, you have to go into Oga's for that. I think the blue milk at Oga's is actually different, right? Now, while I discussed the history of the land and the opening of these attractions, we never really talked about the attractions in detail. The general consensus I see around the internet and asking people in the parks when it comes to the Galaxy's Edge attractions are about what you'd expect. Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run is a pretty good simulator attraction that everybody can enjoy, even if you're the engineer. Believe me, I like to be the engineer. Sue me, okay? I like pressing buttons. Although wait times can kind of veer on the higher end for what experience you're getting, I would never wait more than about 30 minutes for standby for this attraction. I usually go through the single rider, so I get on immediately, but about 30 minutes is what I would usually wait. 30 to 40, I'd say is fair. You accept a mission from Hondo Ohnaka, the owner and operator of Ohnaka Transport Solutions, to intercept and steal a shipment of the rare material coaxium, which is used in the Star Wars universe as fuel for hyperdrives, the component of the ship that allows you to go into light speed. You are assigned one of 3 different jobs, either a pilot, steering the ship up and down or side to side and jumping to light speed and alternating the brakes and the boosters, that sort of thing. Left pilot, I cannot stress this enough, please remember to use the brakes. Please, it's very important to get that second container, and when I don't get the second container, I get mad. Nah, I get it. It's all in good fun. You could also be a gunner in charge of shooting down enemy fighters and derailing trains. Maybe, I don't know, launching a missile or two, just saying. Pretty fun. Or lastly, but definitely not leastly, engineer in charge of keeping the ship's systems up and operational. Think shield technician. You have to press these lit up buttons in order to repair damage done to the ship. You also extend a big old cable out to the train to try to reel it in. It's a lot of fun. I like engineer. I'm sorry! And while some people, like me, would argue that this is a superior and more immersive version of Star Tours when they add more missions, others would argue that it's a very cheap, very quick simulator attraction that gets the job done of being a secondary attraction to Rise of the Resistance, which, you know, is fair. But it's an extremely high-capacity, interactive simulator attraction, the likes of which have never been seen at a Disney park unless you count, I don't know, maybe Disney Quest? It obviously isn't as high budget as this, but does anybody remember the Magic Carpet ride at Disney Quest where you could like fly the magic carpet around, or maybe the Bill Nye Build Your Own roller coaster, or even the Pirates of the Caribbean one where you had the cannons, or the Jungle Cruise one where you were in a raft? Am I just making all of this up in my mind? I absolutely could be. I can't remember Disney Quest very well. People, let me know. Is this not the first interactive ride Disney's ever built? But it's the first one in a park. The first interactive simulator in a park that Disney has ever built. Unless it's not, I'm not sure. I really do think Millennium Falcon receives a lot more hate than it deserves, but I do get the gripes. Meanwhile, over on the complete opposite end of the land, you have Star Wars Rise of the Resistance, the flagship attraction for all of Galaxy's Edge, some would argue the entire park, Hollywood Studios and Disneyland. This is usually where people run to at rope drop. Either that or freaking Peter Pan. That line never gets shorter. As mentioned before, it did not open with the rest of the land, but it was extremely impressive, very well received, and highly, highly commended when it opened. And I honestly think that Rise of the Resistance stands up to the hype. You and your party, and whoever else is in the line with you, are new recruits to the Resistance. I guess maybe you grew up on Batuu and you wanted to fight the good fight against the First Order. Great. The whole point of going into this Resistance base in the first place is in order to escape Batuu. You do not want to be on that planet, because a First Order Star Destroyer is making its way to the planet. You catch yourself a shuttle commanded by your good Mon Calamari friend Beck, piloted by none other than Nien Nunb, and escorted by your good friend, who else but Moon Knight. But before your transport can make the jump to light speed to get to safety, you are attacked by TIE fighters and eventually brought on board the very same Star Destroyer that you were trying to escape in the first place. You're all captured and brought on board to be interrogated, and once you were stationed in your interrogation room, Supreme Leader Kylo Ren and General Hux pay you a visit before brave members of the Resistance who are in the walls this entire time break you out and send you on this secret mission. Not so secret mission through the Star Destroyer. I'll keep this brief, for the sake of brevity, but you make your way through the Star Destroyer dodging stormtroopers and AT-ATs, because that's what they're called, AT-ATs, not AT-ATs, before eventually making your way to an escape pod and safely ejecting back to Batuu, which is the planet you were supposed to escape from in the first place, but that's fine now. You scared off Kylo Ren, maybe the Star Destroyer's gonna leave, maybe not. I don't see it in the sky when I get off the attraction, and, the land is canon, so I guess they left. Good job, everybody, job well done, let's head home. Everybody grab a corn dog on the way out. Thank you for helping the Resistance, even though we didn't really do too much. We're kind of back where we started. Now, me just saying that doesn't sound super cool. I mean, maybe it does, but the ride itself uses such amazing technology, a trackless ride system, extremely detailed set pieces and animatronics. All of this comes together to create one of the most immersive dark rides since, dare I say, no, I do dare say it, since Living with the Land. Rise of the Resistance is better than anything Universal has to offer in terms of technology and ride design and storytelling and show effects, and I can say that because I've never been to Universal. So, like I said, I'm probably wrong when it comes to that, but Rise of the Resistance is the S tier when it comes to theme park attractions. If people are trying to top Rise of the Resistance, it's going to take another couple of years, maybe a decade or so, maybe a couple of decades before this sort of thing can be topped. And I would love to see it topped, obviously with like the Avengers e-ticket. I don't think we're going to be getting that, but eventually, someday, someone will top this. Might be Universal, but then Disney after that, and then Universal again, and then Disney, and then the cycle will go on forever. And while it isn't different every single time you go on it, like say Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, Cosmic Rewind, or Star Tours, it still is a wonderful experience, and really helps tie the land together with a big flagship attraction. There was going to be a third attraction, a sort of almost people mover where you rode on the backs of a Star Wars alien creature around the land, which would have been amazing to see. Of course, didn't happen. And maybe we will see different variations of missions in Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run in the years to come, but that's not really confirmed at this point, just a hunch that everybody has. But when it comes to attractions, yes, I would say that this land absolutely delivers. I think one more attraction, a smaller sort of flat ride, kiddie style ride attraction would have been good for the land, something for younger kids to enjoy, but I get it. Maybe like a carousel where it's like, oh, speeder training, you can hop on a speeder and learn how to ride one before you can tackle the real thing later on in life. A tiny little speeder carousel, maybe something like that. Disney, that one's on me. But after all of this is constructed, built, opened, and operating for a while, Disney decides to add another layer to Galaxy's Edge, but this time only at Disney's Hollywood Studios, because this is sort of a little experiment that Disney wants to conduct. That experiment is none other than the Galactic Star Cruiser. Come on, you didn't think I'd do a Galaxy's Edge retrospective without talking about the Galactic Star Cruiser. This bears mentioning. It was announced at D23 2017 to be sort of a story extension for Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, a place where guests could stay overnight and immerse themselves even further into the world of Star Wars. If you wanted to live your Star Wars adventure for real this time, we're actually not kidding, this time you're actually going to be able to live your Star Wars adventure, pinky promise, cross your fingers, cross our hearts, you need to sign up for the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser. We didn't know it was called that at this point in time, but we did know a Star Wars hotel with hyper immersive theming, with characters, with almost theatrical performances was being built. I'm gonna throw it over to my good friend, Bob Chapek, for this next segment. Bob, over to you.
So today, I am thrilled to confirm that we are working on our most experiential concept ever. It combines a luxury resort with an immersion in an authentic Star Wars environment. It will invite you to live your own dedicated, multi-day adventure in a galaxy far, far away. It's unlike anything that exists today. From the second you leave Earth, you will board a starship alive with characters, stories, and adventures that unfold all around you during the voyage on the galaxy that spans several days.
It was almost like an escape room / cruise / immersive theater experience / hotel. No pool though, okay? If the Galactic Star Cruiser had had a swimming pool and a water slide, I would have booked, opening day one voyage for me. I actually think some people would be a bit more into the Galactic Star Cruiser if it had more hotel-like amenities. Like, there is only one spot of the hotel where you could go outside. I know you were on a, Galactic Star Cruiser in space. You had to go to the climate simulation area, but it was this really small sort of courtyard that wasn't really open to outside. It was just sort of open air. I think if they had expanded outdoor areas, it could still be a climate simulation area, but just more outdoor areas. I just would be a little less claustrophobic. A lot more people, my wife included, she talked about this before, you need to be able to go outside more often at the resorts, I would say. I think so. I think that's fair. And reception to this announcement was actually pretty positive. People were excited for the Star Wars hotel, but as it got closer and closer to opening and more news and potential price points for this experience began to emerge, reception sort of started to sour. For a two-person cabin, the price was $4,800 for the experience, nearly $5,000. That's for 2 nights, $5,000, 2 nights, and that immediately threw most of the audience off. Me especially, okay? Disney doesn't invite me to anything. I like to speak my mind here on the Offhand Disney YouTube channel, okay? I like to say how I feel. I like to put down the truth sometimes. And they don't usually appreciate that. I wouldn't say I'm overly critical with Disney. I'm a lot more lenient than a lot of other people online are. But man, the Star Cruiser was just, I don't know what they were thinking with that one. I mean, obviously, you'd have these mega fans who would go once or, heaven forbid, even twice to experience this. And yes, they'd have a great time. Everything I've heard from people who visited the Star Cruiser say that it was wonderful. I just couldn't put up the $5,000 in good conscience to do this, and not a lot of other people could either, because at the time of me recording this, October 5th, hopefully this will be uploaded a few days from now, the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser is closed permanently, forever. It's done. The last day of operation was September 30th. No more Galactic Star Cruiser. And here's the part that really rubbed me the wrong way. Because it was $5,000, because it was such an exclusive experience, obviously not a ton of people were going to be able to go. The part that I thought was really the most slimy is they did have alien characters. They had droids walking around this hotel. That same experience they talked to us about at D23 Expo all those years ago that was originally planned for the rest of Galaxy's Edge in the parks, locked behind a $5,000 paywall. I'm getting a little, sorry, excuse me. Whew. It just didn't seem right that if you wanted the full S-tier Star Wars Galaxy's Edge experience, you, my friend, would have to pay. And not only that, you wouldn't be able to go to any other lands, any other attractions, any other parks that day. You were sort of locked to Galaxy's Edge. You could probably go around Hollywood Studios, but Galaxy's Edge mainly. No one ever completed my Living with the Land Galactic Star Cruiser challenge. Nobody ever got themselves a park hopper. Nobody ever got themselves onto the Skyliner to go to Epcot and ride Living with the Land and then get back to Hollywood Studios in time to get back onto the Star Cruiser. Still sick, by the way. They never considered maybe selling a limited number of day passes to the Halcyon. They never considered maybe building a bigger, less immersive Star Wars themed hotel that still tied into the story that had a pool and a water slide. It was out of the reach of most of the guests. And honestly, I do have to applaud Disney for taking this leap, for doing this experiment. It failed. It was a failed experiment. That's okay. Just, you know, take what you've learned and improve Galaxy's Edge with that knowledge. I mean, we have Hera and Chopper walking around Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland. That's an alien and a droid. We need more like that. I get that the Star Cruiser was a more controlled environment, a safer environment for these performers to sort of walk around at their own leisure, but we need more in the actual land. The characters who are already there, amazing. I love each and every single one of them. I got to talk with a lot of them when I was there at Disneyland this actually about a week and a half ago, and it was amazing. More. We need more. I've mentioned so many times in the past that the land lacks kinetic energy. The People Mover attraction was canceled. That would have added sort of a sense of movement throughout the land. The only really kinetic energy you get is while you're in line for Rise of the Resistance with the waterfall. The characters add so much more of a sense of this land being lived in with Dok-Ondar and DJ Rex and Rey and Chewbacca and Kylo Ren and the Stormtroopers and Hera and Boba Fett. He got way too close. If you can't have a carousel or a Casey Jr. or a monorail or a submarine going around your land to help add that sort of sense of movement, sense of everything almost being alive, go all in on the characters. This is what Avengers Campus does and does well. Maybe even something along the lines of Main Street USA. You could add vehicles to help get people around the land. I mean, Star Wars, it's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It's science fiction, but it's also science fantasy. There's so many opportunities, so many possibilities. When Star Wars Galaxy's Edge first opened, I was excited for its future. Not just because Rise of the Resistance wasn't open at the time, but I was looking forward to seeing how the land may evolve. And while this sort of interactive theater aspect of it was sort of pushed to the wayside, instead of asking someone where the bathrooms were, you'd ask them where the refreshers were. You'd say bright suns and rising moons, till the spire. All of that has really sort of been put on the back burner, if not gotten rid of completely, but the land itself I've seen grow and change even throughout just the couple of years it's been open. I try to look at things with both the eye of a fan and the eye of a critic when I walk through the parks. I will admit that the fan side usually wins out over the critic, but I think when Galaxy's Edge opened, there was a lot of stuff to be critical about, and even nowadays there is. It's never really my first stop when I get to Disneyland. That's because I'm just such a huge Haunted Mansion fan. But I always like to pay it a visit, one, obviously to get my blue milk, but two, to see if there's any open spots at Oga's, but three, to see what's new at Dok-Ondar's, to go single rider on Millennium Falcon, press some buttons, and to ride Rise of the Resistance just one more time. Maybe the guns will work this time. Maybe they... Nope. Still, okay, still broken. Great. Disney said they are investing $60 billion worth of capital into the parks over the next 10 years. And that's a lot of money, and while Galaxy's Edge may not see potentially any of that money, I think no matter the reception of the sequels, no matter the reception of the land when it first opened, Galaxy's Edge is worth investing in and worth creatively sort of workshopping. Odds are, if you ask the average American, they could tell you one thing about Star Wars. Darth Vader is Luke's father, usually is the first one that comes to people's minds, but a lot of people, if not everybody, is familiar with Star Wars in one way or another. People know more about this fictional universe than they know about their own world 100 years ago. This is on Main Street USA. What's this? Kids, what is this? Tell me. I know what it is. Do you know what it is? Do you know what this does? You know what it's for? Exactly. Now what is this? That's right. That's Luke Skywalker's lightsaber. I'm just saying it's a hitching post, by the way. If you ask me which land needs the most investment, it's Tomorrowland, but Galaxy's Edge could use something. It needs a little more. Randomized missions on Millennium Falcon, more characters walking around, a third attraction, more food options. All of these could come together to make Galaxy's Edge one of, if not the best lands at any of the Disney parks anywhere in the world. I'm even talking about you over there, Tokyo Disney Sea. Yeah, you included. And I mean, who knows? One day we may even see Darth Vader himself, maybe a little Yoda guy, walking down the streets of Batuu. But until then, I turn the question over to you, my friends. What are your thoughts on Star Wars Galaxy's Edge? Do you enjoy the land? Do you like it? Are you not really a fan? Do you try to avoid it? Do you pay it a visit every now and then? I would love to hear your thoughts on this almost sort of video essay retrospective down in the comments below. Because me, I've been talking at you for about an hour now, so I want to hear from you all. I'm actually really excited to see the comment section for this video. And if you made it this far in the video, congratulations, you my friend have made it. Leave a word in your comment that lets me know that you made it. Hitching post, right? We just talked about the hitching posts on Main Street USA. Put hitching post in your comment to let me know that you've made it all the way here. Galaxy's Edge is a land that offers a lot of promise. It offers so much to see, so much to do, and so much to enjoy. And the most frustrating but also exciting thing about it is it could be so much more. And who knows, maybe one day it will be. But the one thing that I do know about Star Wars Galaxy's Edge for certain 100% is that there's a reference to Lights Motors Action back at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. On this little speeder bike in Aurebesh, it says LMA, Lights Motors Action. That's another little Easter egg, just from me to you, just you guys. You're welcome. And it's now that we reach the end of this video, we have come full circle, but not completely, because at the beginning of this video, I was talking to you all about the prequels, how they were sort of panned when they first released, but now, a couple decades later, people are beginning to warm to them. We're having a prequel renaissance. I always enjoyed the prequels, and now it's interesting to see them getting this sort of second win. And I think we may end up seeing something sort of similar in the coming decades with the sequel trilogy. How they're not very well loved by the fans right now, but as these children who watch these movies in the theaters begin to grow up, these young people who visited Galaxy's Edge, stuck in that timeline area between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, how they will view Rise of the Resistance and how they will view the sequel trilogy and Galaxy's Edge as a whole. It's something that I think we need to be on the lookout for, and we need to respect these opinions for these movies that maybe weren't necessarily made for us, although I do have my gripes with the sequel trilogy. Actually, I have a lot of gripes with it, but maybe, just maybe, as time goes by, people will warm to these lands, to these films. Maybe, maybe not. Time will tell. And you know, I've actually seen people talking more recently about how The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi weren't actually too bad. They stand on their own as pretty decent movies, but I don't think I will ever grow to appreciate The Rise of Skywalker. That movie is just, it's, you know, As we all know, though, time is just a flat circle, nothing matters, and I am going to go get a blue milk every single time I go to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, so why does any of it matter? Galaxy's Edge for the foreseeable future will be a land undergoing change, undergoing evolution, and that's a good thing. They may take away merchandise offerings, they may raise and lower the price of lightsabers, but there's one thing that I hope remains constant throughout all of these changes, and that is that they continue to offer blue milk, because if they stop offering blue and green milk, I'm not quite sure what I would do with myself. What's Galaxy's Edge without a delicious, chunky, cold drink? That's actually the moral of the video now. I'm changing this, okay? This is no longer a retrospective. This is just a video about how good blue milk is. Thank you for tuning in. I will now list all 1,622 reasons I have for blue milk being amazing. Number 1. You ever wonder what they put into these things? What ingredients go into blue milk? Because I sure do. I have no idea what happens. Hello everybody, thank you so much for watching this video. It was a bit longer, than usual, which I hope is okay. If you enjoy these longer videos, thank you so much for staying tuned until the end card for this video. This is a labor of love, actually, for me. I've been meaning to make this video for a very, very long time, and I finally, got around to doing it. I wanted to make sure I had all of my points plotted out, so this video sort of had some sort of actual structure to it, because usually my videos are just all over the place. That's why they call me Offhand. If you did enjoy this video, please be sure to hit the like button. And if you're new around here, you want more videos like this, long form video essays / retrospective / ranting videos, you can go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I will make sure to keep them coming, my friends. Of course, I could talk
Between
about
production,
these
preparation,
attractions, these
and
lands for
consumption.
days.
It's literally,
I could have kept
it's a
going.
mystery to me.
Actually, no, I think I covered every base I wanted to with Galaxy's Edge. Until Disney makes an official announcement, next week regarding the future of the land, because they always like to do that when I put these videos out. You can also follow me on my other social media platforms at Offhand Disney on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. You can find me over there for more great Offhand Disney content, usually not as long as this. We'll see. Probably not. Or you can follow me on patreon.com/offhanddisney. The Patreon supporters. Now, the Patreon supporters, okay, they are the ones who help keep this channel chugging along the way that it is now. They are the ones who pledge $1 or more a month to get early access to videos, episode audio, things like that. I am extremely grateful to them. If you're listening to this, thank you. Thank you so much. You help me make long videos like this. You help make that possible, so thank you. Of course, another thank you to the sponsor of this video, the Magic Candle Company, and I believe that's actually everything for this video. Everybody, thank you all so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Probably not an hour long. We'll see. I don't know what I'm going to talk about at that point. If you couldn't tell, I was a little bit stuffed up when I made this video. I have a head cold currently as we speak. Thanks a lot, people who go to Disneyland sick. Okay, I was washing my hands, but it's fine. It's whatever. I'm getting better. I feel fine. I'm just a little stuffed up. So if my voice sounded weird in this video, that's why. Okay, that's it. Everybody, thank you again. Goodbye.